Good evening, my filthy casuals. It is AKIRA here with another video. And following up on that last one, I just wanted to talk about me. Where did you come from? Who are you? Regular bullshit podcast questions that I think will sound much better just coming from me directly. So that way, podcasters can never speak about this ever again, and they have to come up with actual original questions if they want to talk to me. You will know me if you go to Wikipedia. Kind of again, the ego on this man to say you have a Wikipedia? Yeah, and it's very, very short, and it doesn't have much of the information on it about anything that I've really done beyond the last year. But I'm here with my other son. That's right, everyone. Welcome. Welcome the superstar. Dio. Say hi, Dio. Say hi, Dio. Oh. Well, let me tell you, I come from the middle of fucking nowhere, Indiana. And my mother, Madre, who I hated most of my life, shout out mom, she came as an immigrant from Korea. Korean Japanese, hello. Her daddy was a whitey, and my grandma was very, 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 very old school Asian. But she was a sweet lady, lovely lady, died of pancreatic cancer when I was like 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there. That entire thing set my entire affirmation that God exists, but maybe we'll get into that in another video. But my daddy was a white man from Indiana. My grandfather brought my grandmother and my mom and my aunt, who was just maybe like one at the time, over from Korea at the ripe age of, like, I think my aunt was like 2, like not even old enough to speak. My mom couldn't even really speak Korean because she was, so young. I was born in the middle of Bedford, Indiana, which is just a city in Indiana. No, there's nothing special about it, I don't think. And if there is, you'll probably let me know in the comments below. And my daddy is from Carroll County, Indiana. Basically Delphi, Indiana, but for Indiana, it's all the same thing. It's like 4 miles difference. It's not that big of a deal. Coincidentally, near Delphi, Indiana. Delphi, Indiana is important to pro wrestling. Little did I know. Because Dick the Bruiser actually is from there, and he's someone from, if you know wrestling from way back in the territory days, one of the OG territory guys. So I come from that town, really was raised there, other than, I think there was a small stint in Indianapolis when I was like, maybe not even a year old, but that doesn't really count. I grew my entire young adult life in Carroll County. I went to Carroll Junior Senior High School, where I was horrifically bullied because I was the only kid that looked Asian in the entirety of the tri-state. It wasn't tri-state, it was just the Carroll County area. I was the only minority kid as far as I know. At least I was the only one that was Asian. So I grew up with all of the slurs. All of them. Slapped me in the face like meat to a porn star. People wonder why I just am so ambivalent to really insults or anything in general. And it's because I grew up in a town where I couldn't go to school without a day of insert joke slur here. They used to call me Chang when I was in junior high and when I was like in high school. What a weird name. It's not even like in the right area. It's wrong country. I grew up in that small area, graduating class, like I think maybe 50 people. I think, at least 10 of them are dead now. So that says a whole lot about the success rate of people from Carroll County. Not saying there's not people that are successful, but generally people that move out of that area don't try to affiliate with that area, like no one's going to go, oh, I'm from Carroll County and be super duper proud of it. I'm not saying I'm proud of it. I'm just saying it's an object fact and statement that I came from that area. Don't take it as a compliment, Carroll County. No. But I grew up as the oldest sibling of 4. I had 2 brothers, 1 sister. And God knows I was not the one that was treated the best. And my parents will straight up say this, and I'll continue to say it. Like, I was kind of the black sheep. My brothers got to do whatever they wanted. My sister was the golden child, if you will. And no matter what I wanted to do, whether it was in junior high, whether it was in elementary school or high school, or even going into college, I did not know that, I could be my own person and say, hey, I don't want to do these things. I want to do these things. Because my parents were of the ilk of, we pay for it, we raise you, we give you everything you want, you kind of do what we want. Not the great way to have a relationship with your kid, especially when all the other siblings get to do what they want. But needless to say, I have an older taste in terms of music, in terms of movies, in terms of film, in terms of generally everything. Now, mind you, I'm becoming more inundated into the modern nomenclature of living. But I was listening to like tapes, vinyls, watching old VHSs of like WCW. I did have gaming systems like the PlayStation. I had the Super Nintendo. I had the Genesis, the Atari. And I grew up with the more modern stuff. But guys, I didn't have internet until I was like 19. Like actual internet where I could actually load a porn video in a decent amount of time. And the first time I loaded an actual porn video was actually in college. A Christian college. There's a reason why my right arm's stronger than my left arm, if you catch my drift. Are you okay? What are you doing? Are you just hanging out? You being good? Oh, the individuality that I grew up in was heavy metal. Again, was funny because my mother was trying to raise me as a very devout Christian, right? Very devout. And she was giving me shit because I listened to heavy metal. So she'd call me like Satan worshiper and stuff like that. And here's the whole hypocrisy of the whole thing. Eventually there was one day, I think I was 18 before I went to college, and my mother was screaming at me, throwing my stuff around the house, all that jazz. She was calling me a devil worshiper, and I said, Amy, that's my mom's name. Don't call her that. That's Mrs. Akira, if you will. Have you ever realized that these are your CDs that I'm listening to? All of a sudden, everything stopped because I think even she realized the mass hypocrisy of it all. And this is not some anti-religious thing. It is not. I'm religious in my own way, but not like that where I'm going to stone you for listening to heavy metal. Come on. I'm going to stone you for having trash taste in heavy metal. I had a small group of friends that I still have a small group of friends. The oldest one, I do the Final Fantasy 14 streams with, Brian. I met him on, I think, the first day of school as a first grader. It was his first day at kindergarten. We both got on the bus, like one stop after the other. Crazy coincidence. And we just sat and I was like, yo, have you ever heard of Dragon Ball Z? He was like, no. And I'm like, dude, greatest thing ever. Mind you, I was wrong. But I was a kid. I didn't know that there were better things than Dragon Ball Z. I had a small group, tight-knit group of friends, and most of them I still keep in contact with to this day. That's how you know that you've got really good friends, is you still are friends with them 20 to 30 years after the fact. I learned how to compartmentalize all of my childhood trauma from my parents, because Lord knows they like to throw my ass around. But when you get called a whole bunch of names all the time, eventually those names become null to you. Because I was into heavy metal, they started calling me Slayer in high school. So I left Chang and I became a Slayer. And I used to hate it because, they were trying to be derogatory towards me liking heavy metal music. But then as I hit my senior year, I was like, wait. Akira, listen. They're calling you Slayer. There's worse names. There's so much worse names that you can be called. And you're getting mad over this? So I owned it. And then I became Slayer. And when people go, Slayer, when I would get a goal or something in soccer or basketball, or whenever I won a race in a swim meet, Slayer. And I don't even fucking like Slayer. That's the funniest thing. I think that's what it was. I think I hated it because I did not like Slayer like that. They have like 2 good albums. 2. And yes, it's Rain and Blood and South of Heaven. Everything else I don't give a shit about. I became older and I became more enraptured in music. I became more enraptured in writing and books and art. I stopped giving a shit about wrestling and was like, wrestling, who cares about that? The high school coach wanted me to wrestle in high school and I was like, wrestling, that's gay. Little did I fucking know. Trust me, there's ironies all around my life and my career. But I went to college, Christian college, and it's funny enough that I went to a Christian college and I became friends with, again, a very small group net of people. I was very young and angry at the time too, so I really hated all the Christians that I went to school with. Not because they were Christians, because I'm a Christian in a way, but I hated their music. I hated their pompous attitude. I hated how fake they all were. They were Nazarenes, so they were the most tight-knit of tight-knit groups. Like, I'm talking, if they were in a butt play, there's a butt plug up their ass, and they're squeezing onto that shit nice and tight. I was still an outcast. I was still an outsider, but because I became friends with people who were also of that ilk, I got back into pro wrestling. I watched Shinsuke Nakamura. I dove into Ring of Honor. I dove into all of the stuff. Graduated with a corporate communications degree and could not find a job because the job market for being in communications is, I guess, hard. I would apply and we get told, oh, you don't have enough experience. You need 9 years of experience. And I'm like, where the fuck am I supposed to get 9 years of experience? Fuck. And I got a job in factories. I got a job in all the places I never really wanted to have a job. My dad worked in a factory. My dad still works in a factory. I think he's retiring this year. So shout out to Dad. But I never wanted to be in that. I never wanted to fall prey to the predatory nature of the 9 to 5. I never liked the 9 to 5 jobs, and I know no one likes the 9 to 5 jobs, but I crave to do more with my life. I crave to do more than what my parents would allow me to. I wanted to go to college for music. I wasn't allowed to because they're like, I'm not paying for you to have a music degree. So again, all the things that I was letting other people guide and narrate and control my life ended up biting me in the ass. And eventually one day it was after a week of working at a factory that had no union. So I was working, 70 to 90 hours a week, exhausting. I was working a hog ringing gun, and my hand and my arms would seize up. So where I'd wake up and my hands would be like this, and I'd have to pry them off. It was not a great job. The pay was decent for the first time in my life, but when you're constantly in pain, is it really worth it? Little did I know. But I went to a show with my uncle. My uncle, Gerald, rest in peace. He died in November of 2024. He took me to a show where I watched AJ Styles versus John Moxley, Dean Ambrose at the time. I watched them in Fort Wayne, Indiana in a TLC match. I miss being an athlete in college. I miss being artistic. I miss being autistic, because you can't really be a great wrestler, if I am a great wrestler, and not be a little bit on the tism level. I said, you know what? I looked at my Uncle Gerald and I said, hey, I'm going to become a wrestler. And he's the first person who ever heard me utter that. And he said, do it. No questioning, not, are you sure? He said, you should do it. Lo and behold, that's what happened. I got on my phone. I searched on Google for schools. There was a school, Billy Rock's school in Lafayette, Indiana, which again was like maybe 20 to 40 minutes away from me. I was like, oh my God, it's actually kind of decently close. I can go and not be fucking stretched thin. It was closed. It closed a year ago. Fuck. I looked again. And then I saw New Wave Pro looking for trainees. Oh, okay, sure. I worked 2 jobs. I was grinding to save money for my car that I had at the time, a whole bunch of stuff. And eventually I messaged them and I said, hey, and mind you, my parents had no idea. My parents had no idea at the time, but I messaged them and said, I want to be a trainee. And I went and I paid money and I drove 3 hours one way to do the tryout. And it was me. I think it was just me. I don't think there was anybody else at the school. And I paid $500, and that's literally all it took. They saw something in me and said, okay, I'll be back here next week. I never paid the full $1,500 that I was supposed to pay them. I only paid $500, so, I took a deal as a deal. And I would go every weekend. I would say, hey, I'm gone for the weekend, and I'd go train, come back. Never really told my mom, never really told my dad. I think I told my dad, hey, I'm training, but I'm still working. I was working 2 jobs and going to train every weekend. I'd go 3 hours one way, train for 2 days, sleep on my trainer's dirty ass mattress in his house, which was covered in rat shit, dog shit, a whole bunch of stuff. I just wanted to make it. I wanted to make sure that I got as much experience that I could. And I wasn't making enough to get like a hotel for the weekend, because I couldn't do that every weekend either. I laid on the floor of his mattress, we would drink, we would eat, and we would watch pro wrestling. That's where I saw my first Necro Butcher match. I saw Joe versus Necro. I watched some death matches, and in my head I was like, oh, I could never do that. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. They're bleeding everywhere. I'm a big pussy puss. At the end of the day, though, I finally succeeded training after getting mono. Doing how you get mono, we all know. But I got mono, and I had to put off training for a month because my spleen was swollen, and if I bumped in the ring, my spleen would explode, and I'd be dead, and I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I wanted to be so many things. Eventually, I realized when I went to the New Japan Dojo in February or March of 2018, I went there, and I realized the style that I was really going to be feeling good at was the Japanese style. It wasn't the high flying, it wasn't the American Broadway show, if you will. I really loved the realistic, hard-hitting action. And I didn't mind getting hit. again, this plays into the fact that I would become a crazy deathmatch person for a period of my life. But I enjoyed getting hit. I loved the physicality. I loved the character expressions. The fact that it was not trying to be a loud, obnoxious person like as an act. It was just being a person who was bigger than life. I enjoyed that so much about Japanese professional wrestling, where you didn't have to insist upon yourself, you just were. And just that style I really fell into. Unfortunately, though, just like with all my life, I went into promotions, I worked with people, and I got advice from people that totally did not get me. They didn't want to get me. They told me so many bad kind of advice, Oh, you should be a Pokemon trainer. You shouldn't be AKIRA. You should be, an English person. You should have like an English name. A whole bunch of stuff that I just knew in my heart. I was like, stop trying to tell me what to do. Just stop. You're not a hard-hitting wrestler. No one believes it. You're too pretty. You're too cute. You're too tiny. And then when I would actually hit them and beat the shit out of them for realsies in the match, apparently I was a problem. Even though they said, oh, why would I react to you hitting me like that? People want to talk the talk, but when you actually walk the walk with them, they don't like it. Because it became like that as well with my family. Eventually, I lost my jobs. I was let go from one, and I got an eye injury during my factory job. And because I had just joined up with the company full time, I couldn't take days off. I couldn't get hurt. I couldn't get sick. So they fired me, a month into me being hired full time after being there for like 6 months. Exhausting, because my family then said, okay, listen, you have two things you can do. You can be a pro wrestler, but you're not going to live here anymore. Or you can get a job, grabbed all my stuff, and left. I went and I couch surfed for a minute until I was able to find an apartment with a girl I was seeing at the time. I trained, I wrestled, I went around. Again, it was the same thing. People were not really giving me a chance or giving me any kind of credit because they didn't believe in the style of what I was doing. They said, you're not strong style, you're not, even though they didn't even know what strong style actually meant. They just did not believe in me for being me. And that's, again, it's followed me my entire career. But I've turned my biggest haters into some of my biggest believers. Eventually, I was given the opportunity to go down to Mexico, and that's where I had my first death match. And little did I know, I took to that like a fly takes to shit, because it was the bleeding, it was the expressiveness, it was the insanity of it all. And if you go through glass, no one's going to question if you power through it and yell, you motherfucker, and do something really cool. But I started to really build a rep on my own. Even though the Midwest would never admit it, and people still don't really claim me from any area for whatever reason, I still was going out and making success on my own in the deathmatch scene. And eventually I was given more opportunities in the pro wrestling scene, because in 2020, I jumped off a roof. There's clips of it. You can go find it. AKIRA, roof jump, ICW, no holds barred. It's there. Go to Twitter. I became known all around the world in a moment, in a flash of a pan, just like that. I look at myself now versus then still, and it's crazy to me that that was the catapult moment for my career so far. And it was also insulting because even though I did it and I was having what people call match of the year candidates back in 2020, but I was having really great deathmatch pro wrestling matches, and I was slowly being given actual pro wrestling matches as well. I was doing UWFI, and people originally were saying I wouldn't be good at UWFI style matches. But I was half the reason that people were talking about them at the end of 2020. It's a mind fuck with me. I don't get it. They don't give me the opportunity, and when I take the opportunity and I fucking smash it, we always knew. We always knew. No, you fucking didn't. Stop lying to me. Sponsored by Fuck Coffee, if you will. Use code AKIRA10. But when I was given the ball, I ran with it. Obviously, I was still young in wrestling. God, I was only 2 years in at the time. And people are shocked. People are always shocked when you aren't perfect all the time. Sometimes you have a match that's subpar. People do it for WWE all the time, and we give them fucking every excuse under the sun. Buddy, I did not have a training center to go to. It was me, myself, and I, and a couple of my peers that would critique me. It happens. Bad matches happen. Any young wrestler watching this, bad matches happen. Okay? Don't take it to heart. And if promoters take it to heart, it's because they're pieces of shit that don't realize that you're young and growing. And if you have promoters that understand that, dude, be thankful. Because I didn't get that chance. I didn't have that opportunity. If I fucked up something, it was held over my head. It's still held over my head. But I made my career then. I was going around, going to different promotions, having having crazy death matches and making people care about me in ways that I don't think the other people cared about other wrestlers, especially deathmatch wrestlers. Because I never played up a front of who I was. Even though I was a crazy person in the ring and people would say, oh, it's two separate people, I'd be like, no, it's still me. I'm not pretending out there. I was trying really hard to make you like me, but I was never being fake about it. I am the character. If you can't be a character as your own person and you have to pretend to be one, maybe you're just fucking boring. I don't know. I hate to tell you, but most people who play a character in pro wrestling are fucking boring. But not me. You know, people are going to say whatever. They can call me weird, but they can't say I'm not original. We are walking testaments of the influences of our youth and of the ages before us. But I just, dude, since 2020, I was deathmatch wrestling, and eventually it culminated in one of my biggest dreams ever, and I got to go to Japan in 2023. And I was an instant smash hit, you know? I was a smash hit. I wrestled Masashi Takeda, one of the best in the world. I was lauded all over the United States. I had just had a match with Speedball Mike Bailey in 2023 that people are still talking about pretty decently to this day. And it's one of the matches I look back on with a smile, because it was a testament to the fact that I knew, despite all the people that hated me, the Ian Rottens of the world, for example, I knew that I hung with Speedball. I got to work with guys like Danger Aaron and stuff like that, and I still think about it to this day. And I'm like, how crazy is it that a kid from the middle of nowhere of Indiana, and I wanted to do more. I still want to do more. I crave it. I thrive on it. That's why I dove into content creation. That's why I dove into streaming, because I realized there's just so much more to life than just pro wrestling. Pro wrestling itself is boring. Pro wrestling, when it's influenced by things outside of wrestling, is great. It's awesome. But I finally got to go to Japan. I finally achieved my own dream. I didn't have some company behind me. I didn't wait for some American company leading me on with that dangled carrot of, I'll take you to Japan. I'll take you to Japan. I'll give you opportunities to wrestle people. I was given a shot by a wrestler that I had met, like in my first year of wrestling. And he was like, listen, I'm going to get you to Japan, and then the rest is up to you. And I had that match with Takeda. And I swung it out of the park. I nailed that shit. It's one of my favorite matches I've ever had. It was crazy and it was brutal. But man, it was basically the starting point of the end for me in terms of deathmatch wrestling. But I got to go back to Japan immediately to begin 2024. I wrestled Ryuji Ito, their old ace. And it all led up to eventually, you know, I had moved to New York. I was seeing someone at the time. And I moved my entire life to go be with them. I moved my entire existence for my career and for that person. I had the Nick Gage Invitational, the NGI, and I wrestled that match, and I had holes bleeding in my knees from knives stabbing me in the knees, and I went to go see this person the day after. I was swept away. You know, I just knew this is the person I wanted to be with. This is everything I wanted to do. So I looked at Coda and I said, you know what? We're packing up. We're moving to New York. And I went and I was with this person for 3.5 years, going on 4 years, and was traveling all around the world for various independents with Major League. I got to go to CMLL. I was in Arena, Mexico for the Grand Prix. I got to wrestle Ultimo Guerrero in the Arena, Mexico. That's pretty fucking cool. I got to wrestle Kenta. I got to wrestle Minoru Suzuki. Two people I looked up to growing up and getting back into wrestling. Training, I got to wrestle Kenta and Minoru Suzuki, the fucking OG godfather of mixed martial arts, 3-4 times in a year, and I dreamed about it. Did I ever beat him? No, but you know, here's hoping the fifth time's the charm. I got to wrestle people that said I was very good. They said I had growth to do, which is fine. I'm not saying that's not the case, because even when I wrestled Suzuki-san, it was 6 years in wrestling. And everything that I had learned through guys like the Rejects, John Wayne Murdoch and Reed Bentley. I had learned not through a name trainer. It was just through my hard work and being around people that wanted to see me succeed. And then I went to Japan again, and I won King of the Deathmatch. I won King of the Deathmatch in fucking Cork and Hall. I was the first Gaijin King of the Deathmatch since Cactus Jack. And I thought, this is it. This is going to be the moment. Everyone's talking about this. Everyone's talking about that I'm the guy at Big Japan. When I go back to America, I'm going to take the world by storm. That's not what happened. I hate to break it to you. I was riding all these highs. And when I came back, you know, I came back to America, Big Japan Pro Wrestling Deathmatch Champion. I came back and I had a couple matches that people were saying I was the best I've ever been. I looked amazing. And then I went back to Japan and I dropped the belt. 2025, I'm sorry, was a rather long and exhausting year for myself physically, in terms of wrestling, and mentally and spiritually. I went through the ringer in ways that I hope no one goes through. I was about to take my life 2 to 3 times. I was this far from just leaning and hopping over into the subway. Just gone. There was one time I was overlooking the Yokohama Mall. I was on the 3rd floor, and the railings are rather low. It was me, myself, and I in a whole world of Japan, a place I wanted to be my entire life, and I felt at home in. But I also felt an alien, and I was alone, and I didn't really have anyone. I felt like the person I was with had absconded and made my Valentine's Day the worst Valentine's Day of 2025. I think the worst Valentine's Day I'm ever gonna have. I hope, I pray. It's so hard when you pour your life into someone and you give everything under the sun. You put off your hopes and your dreams and things that you view for yourself. You put that away just for someone, and then they just move on when it's convenient. It's hard. It's not fair, but life's not fair, and no one said life is fair. And I knew, I was like, it'd be easy for me to take my life. And I'm someone who loves life. I had a zeal for life that I cannot describe to you. I enjoy living. I enjoy experiencing. I love my dog. Now my snake. I didn't have him yet. But everything that I was trying to build with this person was swept from under me. And I was in a foreign country. I was just trying to make money and trying to make my career as best as possible, so when I came back, I would be a whole new human being. And little did I know, I would be a whole new human being in every way. The child of me that was there before, who just was coasting through life, wasn't taking anything very seriously, that person died. That person died because it was just myself then. I didn't have a girl to reach out to, someone who I was speaking to every single day. Because when I moved out, I didn't speak to my mom for years. I only spoke to my dad after 2 to 3 years when he started to see that I was really doing something cool. The son that I had no hopes in, he's really turning it around, and he's really going out there and doing this stuff. But I had also had so many interactions with them about 5 to 6 years in where I was like, you guys sucked. And I was like, I hated you. And it was my mom, though. And my mom I still didn't speak to. It was very much, I hated her for how she treated me, and I hated her for how she limited me, and how I felt, shy from the world. I was stuck. I was stuck in a way that I can't even begin to comprehend. And I tried calling my dad in Japan. He didn't pick up. I called my mom, just out of a desperate need to talk to someone, because I was at my worst. I was, crying my eyes out, left by myself. I felt weak. I had no one to really turn to. I eventually had a friend who did come over, but, I didn't want to lean on him for everything, because that's a whole lot to pour onto someone. I don't want to trauma dump on them, right? They have their own shit they're going on through. I know they did. They told me. Started speaking with my mom, and she was trying to give me the whole Asian spiel, like, well, you need to come back, you need to have a plan, you need to start saving money, you need to be ready to move out. And I was like, listen, I'm in a mess, and I know you can't understand it because I'm truly in a foreign land trying to survive. I was like, we need to shut the fuck up and be my mom for 20 minutes. And my mom, for the first time in her life, I think she understood, and she said, okay. We were speaking all the time. I was speaking to my dad. I was talking to Brian again regularly, not wrapped up in the pro wrestling world anymore. But hell, my parents, when I left for Japan, they were watching Coda for me. He's not in here. He's in the other room, mooching for food probably. They were there for me when I was at my lowest, truly my lowest. I'm not at my lowest now in terms of personally. Career-wise, after all that I'd been through, when I finally lost that belt in Japan, the words came out of my mouth that this was my last death match in Japan. And I meant that as in, the time's up. I didn't want to do death matches anymore. All the physical turmoil that I'd been through was crazy. All the pain and suffering. I was the guy who was waving the flag of hybrid style wrestling. I wanted to show that deathmatch wrestlers could be great pro wrestlers. And that's really what I started turning to streaming for. I came back, I had my last death match at Tournament of Death. And I don't regret it. I've had so many people I look up to and respect in the deathmatch world that applauded me for leaving. They're like, you don't need this anymore. They're like, we don't even really want to do it anymore, but we're doing it because it's what we know. They're like, you're still young. You can still do so much. And the people that were in the pro wrestling world that were telling me you could do so much more, all of a sudden they went silent on me, you know. I left Major League Wrestling, but people in TNA and everywhere else, you know, I never got a call. I sent all my information, never heard anything. And that's just the nature of the beast. I understand it. Is it frustrating? Fuck yeah. Dude, pisses me off. Pisses me off. Like, I can't lie at the end of the day. I'm like, why aren't I being seen? I'm in the best shape I've ever been, you know. I wanted to do more, and I just didn't want to hurt anymore. I'm not going to forsake my deathmatch years, but I didn't want to hate the art of it either. Because I think I was about to. I was on the cusp of it. Because for all the times that I was deathmatch wrestling, no matter how hot I was, no matter how much better I grew, and no matter how much fans loved me, I would always be swept aside for the next hot thing. And when that next hot thing would stop deathmatch wrestling, they'd come back to me. And I got tired of it. I realized that, like, I can make people love me in a pro wrestling sense in ways that other people can't. Yeah, you can be super duper athletic, and I can't do a lot of those things. I can't. But I can make you fucking care. In a world of people, they wanted to be Tiger Mask, they want to be Will Ospreay, they want to be Kenny Omega, and I love watching those guys. It's great. But I wanted to be Shinsuke Nakamura. I wanted to be Terry Funk. I wanted to be guys that were unique in their own way, and people cared about them in their own way. Not because of the moves, just because they were so cool. And then I realized that there's more to life, and there's more to being a human being than just wrestling. I wanted to explore other things outside of it too. So I'm still trying to get bookings. I'm still trying to do all that. But I also realized, man, I love streaming. I love talking to people about video games. I love talking about music. You know, I'm learning about the world just as much as anyone else is. I'm always going to be AKIRA the pro wrestler. I'm never going to retire from pro wrestling. As I said, he's the last snake that I want to have in my life. He's the only snake I want to have in my life. Because he just likes to hang out. Not a violent bone in your stupid little head. You're just brainless. But he's great as jewelry. He's a great accessory, let me tell you. Look at my bracelet. Everyone tell Dew he's a good bracelet right now. But I just wanted to let you guys know a little bit about me. You know, I was a kid that grew up watching Godzilla and anime and a whole bunch of shit. That also, I'll say it right now, the name AKIRA actually did not come from AKIRA the anime. Despite what people can say, I'm a mixed kid. It came from Akira Toriyama because of Dragon Ball Z, which goes back to me and Brian. From our first day of first grade. It came from that. It didn't come from the anime. Akira Toriyama always stuck with me, and when he died, I was very, very sad because a lot of my life was kind of modeled around and started with Dragon Ball Z. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy how all these things kind of come together. And I've had so many people that are just like, you're really Asian. Why? I had some people say, why don't you eat rice? And I'm like, what the fucking racism bullshit is that? Like, what? Your skin doesn't look Asian. I'm like, what, yellow? Again, this is just another step into the mind and life of me. No script, just off the cuff, talking, telling stories off the top of my head. I think I've led an interesting life so far. Lived all around the world for being a bumpkin from Indiana. If you guys have any questions, thoughts, comment below. Let me know. Anything you want me to talk about, whether things that you're interested in, things you want to know about me, I'm down to do all that. I want to talk about it. I want this to be an exchange of myself with your curiosity. And maybe you're not even curious at all. That's perfectly fine, and that's perfectly okay. Because maybe I'm just a boring person. Maybe I'm just some boring bitch. I don't know. I don't think I'm boring. I think I'm pretty crazy, pretty zany. I think I'm pretty lovable. But thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the next video. Say goodbye, Dio. Bye-bye.